Peace and welcome to The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Today, folks, we got a lot to talk about. Let's bring you into day 3 of the Supreme Court confirmation hearings for Judge Ketanji Jackson. Just giving you some of the big moments that happened yesterday and the big moment that has already happened today. We'll break down the details. Also, let's talk about the town of Mason, Tennessee. This town has been under black leadership for years, but then the state comptroller said enough is enough. We need to take it over, and I'm going to tell you why. We'll have that conversation with journalist Anita Agwahari of the Tennessean Lookout. Also later on, let's talk about Vice President Kamala Harris, how she is still embroiled in a fight to protect her image and to gain respect within her own administration. How about that? And we got that and a whole lot more. Got my culture crew joining me. And yes, so are you. So let's get ready to jump right into it. It's The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. Folks, good afternoon and welcome. We have so much to share with you and have a discussion about. The first thing, of course, is this is day 3 of the Supreme Court confirmation hearing for Judge Jackson. She is facing a number of questions about her record, her judicial philosophy, and so much more. So we're going to get into that in a moment. But we did want to let you know that there has been some breaking news that has come across the wire here, where it is official, folks, that the United States has declared Russia in committing war crimes in Ukraine. Let me just say that one more time. The United States has officially declared that Russia has committed war crimes in Ukraine. Now, we've talked about the number of bombings that have happened with shelters, theaters, library, the maternity hospital. And so, based upon the criteria for what is to determine what is a war crime, it looks like Russia has met that criteria. And now the United States is planning to figure out what the next steps will be. So we're not going to be able to jump all into that because that just literally came down. That breaking news just happened today. But rest assured that we're going to move forward in making sure that this situation is keeping our eyes open. We're going to have a lot of some voices on this, but this came as a result of the fact that as President Biden and the Secretary of State Anthony Blinken both had said that they had opinions saying that Russia had committed war crimes. You remember a couple of days ago when President Biden said, yeah, I think he is a war criminal. And then he followed that up the following day of last week saying, yes, he's a murderous thug. So those war of words were happening. And then now this happens. And this is a very, take a look at this, folks. This official U.S. declaration puts the United States right there in the center of this whole conflict. And we're going to, like I said, we're going to have discussions around this. We're going to be bringing back Dr. Horn and others to be a part of this conversation in a little bit. But think about how war is kicked off. And that's all I'm going to say. If you think about how wars happen, when you have a declaration of this magnitude, the narrative starts to change. There's going to be a different take that President Biden, the Secretary of State, and others have been saying. And the Secretary of State, Mr. Blinken, has said in his statement that he cited credible reports of indiscriminate attacks and attacks deliberately targeting civilians, including the destruction of an apartment building, schools, and hospitals. The State Department specifically cited attacks on that maternity hospital that I mentioned just a moment ago, and the theater right outside of the Capitol and Mariupol. And if you take a look at the damage done here, folks. You have the cars. I mean, it's just absolute tragedy of what's happening. The theater, the State Department said, was marked with the Russian word "for children" and letters visible from the sky. That was one of the big moments. That was one of the big reasons why, when that theater was bombed, that was serving as a shelter for the Ukrainian people, that was one of the big moments that determined that this was, in fact, a war crime that Russia has committed. And you can see that footage right there, just some video and of some of the people of Ukraine moving out. But just look at the damage there, folks. You can see it. Places that are not military targets. These are not military targets. These are just places that the people have used as shelters. And that's the situation that we're seeing right there. That is the situation. So this declaration will heighten the tension between Russia, Ukraine, and certainly NATO and the United States of America. So again, we just wanted to let you know that this breaking news that the U.S. has declared that Russia has in fact committed war crimes in Ukraine. We are going to keep our eyes on this situation. And of course, we will bring more voices to give us some insight into this development of this whole story. And I want us to keep in mind as well, folks, what we're looking at. And it's hard for me to be before you and to not think that this will bring us possibly closer to some level of military action. We have seen how things like this have manifested itself in past wars. And for us to be at this point right now in this conflict, it's going to be hard to walk back. It's going to be very hard to walk back on the United States of America not doing anything in response to this new declaration. So we will certainly keep you posted. All right, look, I'm going to take a quick pause. When we come back, let's talk about the confirmation hearings for Judge Ketanji Jackson, and I'm going to bring my Culture Crew member Elijah Miles to be a part of that conversation. So stay with us. It's the Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Folks, welcome back to the show. We want to just bring you up to date with the latest in the Supreme Court confirmation hearings of Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. This is day 3, folks. And just to give you a little insight as to what happened in day 2, it seemed like there was a lot of back and forth. But I think the biggest thing that we can take from these confirmation hearings as of right now, just looking at the past 2 days, and then, of course, the hearings are happening as we speak. A lot of political theater. A lot of political theater. I want to show you the moment that Judge Jackson had with Senator Ted Cruz of Texas and the back and forth of this situation. But again, keeping in mind that this judge has had an incredible record. I mentioned to you just yesterday, she has written over about 550 opinions. The reversal rate, as we talked to Professor Nigeri yesterday, she said that her reversal rate is at about 2%. So only 11 opinions were actually reversed out of 550. So when your reversal rate is that low for your opinions, it speaks volumes about how you interpret the law, administer the law, and how you how do you process these cases. And so I want to share with you just a little bit of what the back and forth looks like between Senator Ted Cruz and Judge Ketanji Jackson in yesterday's hearing. And then we're going to speak to Culture Crew member Elijah Miles about this situation. Take a look.
Studied critical race theory, and I've never used it. It doesn't come up in the work that I do as a judge.
So with respect, I find that a curious statement because you gave a speech in April of 2015 at the University of Chicago in which you described the job you do as a judge. And you said sentencing is just plain interesting because it melds together myriad types of law, criminal law, and of course, constitutional law, critical race theory. So you described in a speech to a law school what you were doing as critical race theory. And so I guess I would ask, what did you mean by that when you gave that speech?
With respect, Senator, the quote that you are mentioning there was about sentencing policy. It was not about sentencing. I was talking about the policy determinations of bodies like the Sentencing Commission when they look at a laundry list of various academic subjects as they consider what the policy should be.
Okay, but you were vice chair of the Sentencing Commission, so let me ask again, what did you mean by, because that was an official responsibility of yours, what did you mean by what you were doing was critical race?
What I meant was that there are a number of, that slide does not show the entire laundry list of different academic disciplines that I said relate to sentencing policy, but none of that relates to what I do as a judge.
So, Judge Jackson, all of us will agree that no one should be discriminated against because of race. When you just testified a minute ago that you didn't know if critical race theory was taught in K through 12, I will confess I find that statement a little hard to reconcile with the public record, because if you look at the Georgetown Day School's curriculum, it is filled and overflowing with critical race theory. That among the books that are either assigned or recommended, they include Critical Race Theory, an introduction. They include The End of Policing, an advocacy for abolishing police. They include How to Be an Anti-Racist by Ibram Kendi. They include literally stacks and stacks of books, and I'll tell you two of the ones that were most stunning. They include a book called Anti-Racist Baby by Ibram Kendi. And there are portions of this book that I find really quite remarkable. One portion of the book says babies are taught to be racist or anti-racist. There is no neutrality. Another portion of the book, they recommend to babies confess when being racist. Now, this is a book that is taught at Georgetown Day School to students in pre-K through second grade, so 4 through 7 years old. Do you agree with this book that is being taught with kids that babies are racist?
Senator, I do not believe that any child should be made to feel as though they are racist, or though they are not valued, or though they are less than, that they are victims, that they are oppressors. I don't believe in any of that. But what I will say is that when you asked me whether or not this was taught in schools, critical race theory, my understanding is that critical race theory as an academic theory is taught in law schools. And to the extent that you were asking the question, I understood you to be addressing public schools. Georgetown Day School, just like the religious school that Justice Barrett was on the board of, is a private school.
Okay, so you agree critical race theory is taught at Georgetown Day School?
I don't know, because the board is not, the board does not control the curriculum. The board does not focus on that. That's not what we do as board members. So I'm actually not sure.
Well, and I'll know.
I want to bring in Elijah Miles, culture crew member, who is the founder and chairman of Tendea Family. Elijah, thank you for joining me, brother. I said it at the outset, Elijah, bro, that it looked like a lot of political theater. You know what I mean? He pulling out the books. He's trying to make, got the big slide and all of that stuff.
He's trying to go viral.
He's trying to go viral. He's trying to have a viral moment, right?
Yeah.
But then, when you look at her response, it was like, and I mean, it's an important part of the confirmation. You got to ask questions like this, I guess. But it's insulting,
right?
You could clearly tell she was insulted.
Yeah, definitely. I think she's poised. I think she has a woman of character. I think she's elegant. I think she's classy. And I think they're striving to do everything they can do to slander her, to demean her, to make her look wrong. If they bring up the pornography cases she dealt with anymore, it's getting ridiculous. And I think when it comes to these things, I think it shows to me why American politics and why just America in general, as far as the culture, is going downward, because it's not about truth at all. Here's a person that, as clean as a person can get, as excellent as a woman can be, and it's about politics, and it's about throwing a political football, and about having a political fight and making sure that your side wins, not about getting a woman of character in office or in a position. So I thought, I've been watching it up until the time we even got on that, and I just thought it was like ridiculous in the ways they was trying to pigeonhole her. When I was a political science major, I could say this, when I was at Morgan, a political science major, and they told you in the courtroom, it ain't about truth. It's about making the person you're against look wrong. And whatever skeletons you can have on that person, it's about bringing those skeletons out. And that's what I see, even though it's not a courtroom, that's what I see in this hearing. It's just about trying to not expose her, but make her look negative in the eyes of the public. And I think it's extremely disrespectful. Yeah. And I think it's why American politics is divided, and it looks like it's going to continue to be extremely divided.
I would agree with you, bro. I would agree with you wholeheartedly. And you know, there were a couple of articles that happened yesterday. There were a couple of articles that ran, national pieces that ran over the past 24 hours, where the headline was that the Republicans and the conservatives have been able to kind of like outmatch her during that exchange, right? Because they felt like, oh, Ted Cruz really put it, he really spoke to his base when he brought up this critical race theory, which, I mean, you say that in modern day in America right now, it's going to hit. It's going to create a reaction, right? So I think to your point of saying that it's not about truth, which is mind blowing. And I hope people understand what you just said. It's not about truth. It's about making the other person look silly, making them look bad, punching holes in their thinking or their philosophy, even at the expense of truth. And I think that's the part about this. And again, going back to what you said, because I think you hit the nail on the head when you said that's the crazy and that is the really messed up part about the system and the culture of politics right now in modern day America, that we rather make a person, this is a person that's going for Supreme Court, right? So I get it. You don't agree with her. You may not agree with her judicial philosophy. She's a Black woman. So that brings a lot of symbolism and substance into the conversation and experience. So you just, I mean, as a white man who thinks like Ted Cruz, or as a white man who thinks like Lindsey Graham, this is a real threat to your existence and to your system. And I think that is the thing. And I'm so happy that she said that point when I asked the question, hey, look, as a board, we don't dictate the curriculum. I mean, that may not be the case for all, private schools, but for that particular school, that's their setup. And it's like, we don't dictate the curriculum. I'm not an educator. You know what I mean? Like what you trying to get at, man?
And judges are not politicians in the way that a senator is also.
Right.
And so what she's thrust into this real political environment, and she's handling it very well. But what she's trying to let everyone know is that my job is to try to remain unbiased. It's not to be biased and lean to this direction and lean to that direction because of how you all feel and because of how what politics dictates. She's trying to let people know that, yeah, I'm unbiased and I'm going to strive to interpret the law based on all of the facts that's in front of me and interpret the law based on what the law actually says and try to do my best at. But yeah, they're trying to use her for a viral moment and trying to, like you said, play to their base. But she's excellent, man. She whooped Lindsey Graham.
All right, I want to play this because I know I want to play, Keenan, if we can play the Lindsey Graham. This is from earlier today. Check this out. The exchange that Judge Jackson had with Senator Lindsey Graham.
an incredible life. But here's one thing that won't happen to you as we wrap this up. How would you feel that if I'd had a letter from somebody accusing you of something, a crime or misconduct, for weeks, and I give it to Senator Durbin just before this hearing's over, and not allow you to comment on the accusation? How would you feel about that?
Senator, I'm not sure. I don't understand the context of the question.
Well, did you watch the Kavanaugh hearings?
No, sir.
Are you familiar with what happened in the Kavanaugh hearings?
Generally.
Senator, your time is...
Well, please, Mr. Chairman. So to be honest, it's a minute and 47 seconds. She filibustered every question I had, and she has a right to give an answer. But I'm trying to make a point in 20 minutes. You were here for Kavanaugh. If she's confused about what happened, some people on the other side had an accusation against Judge Kavanaugh that during high school, he sexually assaulted somebody. And the rest is history. That was known to the people on the other side and never revealed during the meetings they had with Judge Kavanaugh. It was literally ambushed. He was ambushed. How would you feel if we did that to you?
Senator, I've appreciated the kindness that each of you has shown me to see me in your offices, to talk with me about my approach.
But my question is, what if during our 15-minute exchange, it was very pleasant. You're a very nice person. You have a lot to be proud of. I would never do that to you. If I had some information that's sketchy at best, that somehow you've done something wrong, I promise you, just from human decency, I would share it with you. I would not disclose it at the last minute of the last day of the hearing, and I've already given it to a newspaper so the whole country can read about it before you ever said a word.
Senator, she's had nothing to do with the cause.
No, but I'm asking her about how she may feel about what y'all did.
Senator, your time has expired, and I'm going to give her an opportunity to finally complete an answer.
So, if I could
just
address,
answer the question.
Senator, I don't have any comment on what procedures took place in this body regarding
What'd you think about the Kavanaugh hearing?
What I'd like to answer is your points about my sentencings in child pornography cases. The point of the guidelines is to assist judges in determining what punishment to provide in cases. And there are horrible cases, but the idea is that between the range of punishment that Congress has prescribed, judges are supposed to be providing proportional punishment based on what a person has done.
All right, we got a couple of minutes. Elijah, I want to bring I'm at a loss for words, because I mean, why would you bring up a past confirmation hearing?
Yeah,
and I mean, what does that have to do?
It plays out of Trump playbook too, where it's just play to the base, even if it's not relevant, just play to the base, man, because you know people are still angry about that. So it's just dramatics, it's just drama, it's just theater. You know, they got big poster boards.
I mean, so I mean, I have to take a look, and you know, when was the Kavanaugh hearing? You know, that was, and we're going. I think, you know, I'm asking my producers if I just need to know the year, because I think it was like what, 3 years ago.
Yeah, but the thing is,
and it's like you asking this woman a question about a hearing of another person,
right?
And then you trying to wrap up a question in that using that as the context for, like, to get to what point? I don't understand it.
Right.
I'm glad that the chairman, Dick Durbin, put it out there. Look, we need to just end that part of your question. It's expired. But this is the BS. This is the BS of what we got to go through as the American people. This is the BS coming from our political officials.
Yeah.
Our political officials. And we already know it's greatly, I mean, it's the partisanship is just right there. So we already know that. And it's sad. It's very, very sad that you have an opportunity to ask the woman this question about her philosophy, her experience, her record, and all of these things, and you bring up with some the confirmation hearings for somebody else. So I'm super happy she was like, I ain't even really watch it.
Right.
I ain't even watch that shit. Like,
yeah.
Ask me another question because I ain't watch it.
Right.
Let me just say, y'all, folks, very quickly, before we wrap up this part of the conversation, that when people generally ask, like, how long does it take for the Supreme Court how long does it take to confirm a Supreme Court justice? It can take months.
Yeah.
But the last time that there was a speedy confirmation came with Amy Coney Barrett. And we saw that the Republicans pushed her confirmation through less than a month, folks. Less than a month. Before that, the last nomination came to proceed to a confirmation in less than 2 months was RBG, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And that was back in 1993. So these things usually take months. So, when we see over the next week, we got today and then final day is tomorrow. Once we see how this thing goes, it's going to, we'll kind of go through this process. So it will be interesting, Elijah, to say the least, how long we should expect to hear an answer about Judge Jackson's confirmation. Absolutely insanity, brother. Yeah. Absolute insanity.
She's going in, and I think it's going to be beautiful. I
hope so.
Highly intelligent and just excellent. Will be an excellent Supreme Court justice.
I hope so, dear brother. Look, we got to take a quick pause. When we come back, let's come back and let's talk about what's going on with the black populated town of Mason, Tennessee. We're going to break down to you some of the latest details in the struggles of this town. This was a town that the Tennessee state government decided to take over. The comptroller said, we are going to essentially take over the finances and the governance of this town because guess what? Black people don't know how to rule in Mason, Tennessee. We'll bring you those details. We're going to check in with journalist Anita to give us some insight about what's going on. Stay with us. It's The Culture right here on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair. Take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show, Get Wealthy, focuses on the things that your financial advisor and bank isn't telling you, but you absolutely need to know. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
I love y'all.
momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Folks, let's talk about what's happening in Mason, Tennessee. This is the small town in Tennessee that has been under a lot of scrutiny from the Tennessee state government. And as of right now, there was some concern about the governance of Mason, Tennessee, this small town that is predominantly Black, where Black people have been in leadership. Well, it was decided upon last week that by the comptroller of Tennessee, that the town was not handling its funds properly. And so the state of Tennessee was moving forward, as the Tennessee state comptroller decided to do, was moving forward to quote unquote take over the finances of the town. This caused a real problem for the people of Mason, Tennessee. And now we're at a point, this all happened last week. Now we're at this point where it looks like the state of Tennessee, the state, Mason officials, and other stakeholders, community members, and activists have decided to work out a deal. But I thought it would be important for us to have some conversation around this issue, because I think there's a lot that we can learn from the lessons, and more importantly, what we can do to make sure that this situation doesn't go back to a place where you have state government trying to take over small Black towns. So joining me in this conversation is a reporter for the Tennessean Outlook, Anita Wadhanwi. Oh, now let me make sure I'm saying this, Anita. I don't want to mess up your name.
You would not be the first one. It's Anita Wadhwani, and it's the Tennessee Lookout.
Yep, Wadhwani with the Tennessee Lookout. Thank you so much for helping me with that. I appreciate it. People mess up my name all the time, calling me everything from, oh boy, I don't want to get into that. But we thank you so much for your time today, Anita. We know that you are a journalist for the Tennessean Lookout. Looking at this town of Mason, Tennessee, it was the comptroller who put out a statement saying that it was time for Mason to relinquish its charter. Now, this was coming from the comptroller, Jason Mumpower, and he wrote this letter that was mailed to each of Mason's 1,337 property owners. And as a result of that, this became a national story. We've never seen something. Well, I'm not going to say we've never seen something, but it seems like this was a way for the state of Tennessee to essentially take over this small Black town without any consideration of the government or the people of Mason. Talk to us a little bit about this.
Sure. So this story has been kind of going on for a couple of weeks, but it really kicked off in February when the comptroller, a guy named Jason Mumpower, went to a community meeting, and he gave the town elected officials and their constituents an ultimatum, which was essentially, you've got to cede your charter, which would mean that Mason would no longer be a town. It would no longer have its own representative government. And the flip side of that ultimatum was, if they didn't agree to do that, he, as the comptroller, would take complete financial control of, day-to-day workings of town government. And he did, like you said, he followed up, and I've been reporting in Tennessee for 20 years. This is really unusual. I can't emphasize this enough. he followed up with a letter sent to each property owner in Mason, which essentially urged them to urge their elected officials to cede their charter. And the letter said, just like you said, it essentially said your elected leaders can't handle their responsibility. It's time to cede the charter. And the reason the timing is so crucial is that the Ford Motor Company is building a $5.6 billion electric vehicle plant just 5 miles away from Mason.
Yeah.
And so his message was, Mason, under its current leadership, wouldn't really be able to take advantage of the opportunities coming their way. And he wanted the town to fold into the county that it's in. It's a place called Tipton County. And that's kind of where this whole thing started. And a lot has happened, since then. But that is sort of the setup to what's been happening in Mason.
So do you have this, and they call this this investment from Ford Motor Company, what is it called, like Blue Oval Center or Blue Oval City?
Yeah, so their main campus is called Blue Oval City, and it's going to be city-like. It's 4,000 acres. They're expecting to employ directly, I think it's 3,000 workers at the plant. There's going to be another more than 20,000 people who are going to be needed to, work in restaurants and gas stations and all of that workforce that's needed with a surge in population. And just one thing to keep in mind, the where Mason is located and where the Ford plant is going to be located is really underpopulated. There's a lot of agricultural fields. There's a lot of empty space. And not much else. So the Ford plant coming is going to be huge. I think it's one of the largest manufacturing investments in Tennessee history. So, it's coming right next door to Mason. Like I said, the comptroller mentioned that in his letter to residents because his perspective was, there's a lot of opportunity, a lot of money, a lot of investments coming to this area, and that Mason's elected leadership is not really prepared to be able to handle that.
So the beautiful thing about Mason, for people that don't know, first is 60% Black, for one. And then the other thing, I think, which is why this story is so fascinating, is a lot of the Black residents are actually descendants of Black people that were enslaved in Tennessee. They're direct descendants. So you have, and I mean, some people might say, oh, are all Black people descendants of those who were enslaved? And it's like, yeah, but these are direct descendants of those who were enslaved in the state of Tennessee before emancipation. So pretty much those who were enslaved were able to establish themselves and their families, and they essentially stayed in Tennessee and built a life for themselves, and then therefore had families and generations after that point. So this is a very, very special place. This is I would like to call it sacred ground because of that history. And I know that the people of Mason, one of the big things that the comptroller, Mr. Mumpower, said was that the financial, not only is Blue Oval City coming, but the way that Black leadership has handled the financial responsibilities of the town is shoddy. That there have been a number of issues with some of the Black leadership of that town. Can you speak to that, Anita?
Yeah, I mean, first I should say that the comptroller has never mentioned race. And in fact, when I said, here's what it looks like, and here's what the leaders of Mason feel, they feel like this is racially motivated.
Yeah.
He absolutely denies that race plays any part in any of his decisions.
But race does play a part though, right?
Well, I think if you look at some of the basic facts of Mason in the last 20 years, people can draw their own conclusions. So as you said, there are residents in Mason who can trace their ancestors back to the plantation economy that existed in Mason. They're descendants of freed slaves. But it wasn't until 2015 that Mason had its first Black mayor. Before then, the town, which is 40% white, was run by white leadership. What happened in 2015 is there was a pretty egregious fraud that emerged. There was a town official who had paid himself an extra $600,000 over a period of years. And for whatever reason, the entire leadership, the entire elected leadership of Mason resigned in the midst of that investigation. And the person who stepped up, the person who was next in line to be mayor, was a Black woman who had just been elected an alderman. She was a junior alderman. She was next in line. She stepped up. She was Mason's first Black mayor. And since then, there have been a couple of elections since then. Mason has elected a Black mayor. And since then, Mason has had Black vice mayors. It's got a board of aldermen and and I can't remember if there are 6 or 7 members, but anyway, 5 of those members are Black. So despite, that history that you laid out of Mason and it being sacred ground to some of its residents, there were no Black leaders until recently. And one of the things that the leadership will tell you in Mason now, if you talk to them about why this is happening, one of the questions they raise is, why didn't the comptroller come in when, 10 years ago or when this fraud emerged?
Right.
Because the fraud took place. There were actually a couple of different instances before 2015, before Mason had Black leaders.
That is interesting to say the least. Let me bring in my culture crew members, Elijah Miles, chairman, founder and chairman of Tendea Family, and Nira Muhammad, host of Queen Talks with Nira Muhammad podcast. She's also an educator, and my wife, Elijah. Nira, when you think about, when you hear this history and this situation with Mason, Nira, I'm gonna give you the first crack at this question. What's going through your head, knowing that there's a small Black town that is under such scrutiny?
Yeah, to be honest, Farajii, just knowing that history, as was just mentioned, that there was an all-white city hall in Mason that was dismembered because of fraud, and the city was not taken over. So for it to now be taken over when there's Black leadership, the only thing I can think of is that this is racially motivated, because we're seeing a town that, as she mentioned, is growing. The population is growing, which means there's more money that is going to be poured into Mason. All you can really think is that this is built on racism. So I'm very interested to see how this plays out in the future. But I also want us to keep in mind that, this is a repeat of history. We may not be seeing the bombings happen, the lynchings happening, but this took me right back to Tulsa, where we had a Black town that was thriving and it was destroyed. Maybe no, this town wasn't destroyed in the same way, but to have all of these years and these generations of white leadership, fraud being found under white leadership, to now, to the comptroller not trying to take over then, but now we have Black leadership who are really trying to change the trajectory of Mason. And now they're being told to either dismantle or have the comptroller take over, a Republican comptroller. Everything about this is fishy. It's Republicans versus Democrats and Black versus white.
Mason are extremely distrustful of the comptroller right now, but they did work out a tentative agreement that would get Mason on a payment plan to the point where the comptroller was telling me yesterday they may be out from under this in July or August. So that's
but the payment plan. I'm sorry, Nita. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
No, I'm just wondering, and this is the part I didn't understand. Why does the town needs to repay the state for the fraud that was committed by a previous administration? Is that at the root of the repayment deal?
So the fraud is at the root of some of Mason's debt. And there's a real dispute about how much debt that they have. It's roughly $500,000, which is a lot of money for a town of its size. It's down to about 1,000 people right now.
Wow.
So the fraud did contribute to their debt load. But what's been happening in Mason, because they haven't had the money just to pay their bills, to pay the police officers, to keep the lights on, they've been borrowing money from their utility district. And that money by law is supposed to stay in their utility district. So what Mason needs to do is not repay the state, but they need to repay their utility district. This is something that Mason officials, have been aware of since they got elected into office. This is a plan that represents what some of the things they've already been doing, and they feel like the comptroller wasn't aware of until they got to the table yesterday. So that's where the major debt lies, in getting that money back from the town's general fund to their utility district. And once they have done that, once they have completed their audits, the kind of things that cities have to do under Tennessee law just to show that their books are balanced, the comptroller says once that's all kind of well underway, then he feels like they don't need any more financial oversight.
$500,000 a lot. Oh, yeah, go ahead, dear.
I have a question. So the elected officials who resigned because of fraud, what happened to them? Were they penalized at all for any of the money that maybe they misappropriated, stole? I don't know what they did with it. Were they ever held accountable? Or is the town, the people of Mason, they're left to suffer for what the white elected officials did? Is that what I'm hearing?
So I wish I knew the complete answer to that. The person who paid himself that $600,000 extra was indicted. I don't believe he was ever sentenced or convicted. I could be wrong about that, but I am not aware of any funds that were repaid to the town of Mason, due to that fraud. There was a few years earlier, someone had embezzled $100,000. Again, I don't believe there was ever a conviction.
Wait a minute, they embezzled 100. I'm sorry, but they embezzled 100,000 from Mason.
Yes.
And yet Mason is being held accountable for them stealing from Mason. Got it. Cool.
I mean, okay. Let me ask this. I want to give Elijah an opportunity, because Anita, I mean, as you share with us more and more, it's like mind blowing. Elijah, 500. This town, 1,000 people or so, $500,000 debt, and then all of this level of politics happening, and then this town has the potential to really thrive because of the Ford Motor Company bringing its operations there. What's your take?
I think it tells me that Black people, wherever we are, we have to be reminded that politics is always warfare. And no matter how progressive America gets or seem to get, that politics is always warfare, and that when we can offer some benefit to interested parties, they're going to attempt to move on us. And what it makes me think of is a Mason, but it also makes me think of the large Black centers around the country, whether it be Baltimore City or Detroit or Chicago, these that have major populations of Black people, and how sometimes these places are attacked, but also how we as Black people have to begin to organize to protect ourselves from things like this. Because $600,000 is a lot for Elijah Miles, and it's a lot for probably people in this call, but I would ask that Black celebrities at this time that are posting about this, because it is well known right now, that are posting about this, put some money together, if that's even at all possible, put some money together to help the town of Mason out, because we have a vested interest in keeping control over places of power for us, especially as Mason is about to grow in more financial power because of the Ford Company and stuff like that. So, yeah, politics is warfare, and I think we just have to continue to organize ourselves as a people to protect ourselves against these things, because they're not going to stop every time we have something that somebody else wants.
Absolutely.
Elijah, oh my gosh. Elijah, you were so on point with that, though. Like, our celebrities, I'm talking about Black celebrities, from Cardi B to all of them, are constantly bragging about how 100,000, $500,000, that's nothing to them. Okay, so if it's nothing, put your money where your mouth is and save a Black town. That's what I would love to see. Now I'm kind of feeling like Mason needs to demand that, because let's think about it. We got to start putting our Black dollars where it counts. We got to start holding our celebrities a bit accountable, because while they're always bragging about these $1 million cars that they're driving, we got a Black town, a sacred Black town that needs to be saved. I love that, Elijah. I didn't even think about that. That was just so on point. Like, we need to figure out a way to like demand that, because I'm sick of just seeing the ignorance. Like, when you have the power and the money to really put your money and really help your people for generations to come, that's more important than that $600,000 car you driving. Yeah, that was just too on point.
Absolutely. So, Anita, it begs us to ask the question: what can be done? What can people watching this broadcast do, or if that is even an option for us to? I mean, of course, we're putting the story out here.
Elijah's going to start the GoFundMe.
You know what I mean? Like, what can folks do? Like, Black people, white people, Latinos, folks that are saying, wait a minute, this sounds fishy, as Nira said, but more importantly, this town needs some real support and help, because if you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, yes, that first debt might be taken care of, but then if you go to the utility district, then that money is low. I mean, it's going to be a vicious cycle. We all know that.
Well, so one thing that I didn't say that is important, I want to just add it here, is one part of the plan with the comptroller is Mason got roughly $220,000 in American Rescue Plan money. That's kind of money during the pandemic that went to all municipalities to help out. They are going to use that entire sum to pay down a portion of that debt to their utilities. So they're going to take a major bite out of that debt. Now, in terms of your question about, what can people do to help Mason? I don't want to give you the wrong information. I don't know of a GoFundMe account I know that there are a couple out there. I haven't spoken with Mason officials about that to see if those are, legitimate funds or not. I think that they have been really heartened by all the support, all the attention that this situation has gotten. I know that the NAACP in Memphis has been working really closely with Mason. Our Black Caucus, the Tennessee Black Caucus, and that's our Black lawmakers, are working closely with Mason. And so, it may be that people want to reach out to the NAACP in Memphis and say, is there a way I can help? But I certainly can't speak for the elected officials in Mason, but I did talk with the vice mayor yesterday, and she just said she was so grateful that people are paying attention to what's going on there.
Well, we did, we did do our due diligence. I reached out to the Tennessee chapter of the NAACP, and I think, we didn't get a response, but we are certainly going to keep our eyes on this, and we're going to put more eyes on it. Put out the story saying that this is happening, this is necessary, that we do all that we can to support our people right there in Mason. And just to make sure, again, going back to the beginning of my remarks, that this is a town that sits on hallowed ground. Like, we have to let the state of Tennessee understand that, one, you can't just do that. Two, you need to hold people that were accountable, that put this town in the type of debt that is that they're in. And three, you know, we're in 2022. It seems like this town is literally on the verge of extinction with 1,000 people. So one of our watchers said, "Man, that's not a town. It's a neighborhood, and they're going to lose their charter." You know what I mean? Like, if you have any more people moving from Mason, Tennessee to Memphis or to any other part of the country, that town is done. And so, you know, it's a very real situation. Yeah, go ahead.
When you mentioned it being like a small town, it made me think of like Stars Hollow from Gilmore Girls. I'm sorry, it's so loud where I'm at.
Yeah.
It made me think about, and I'm like, a black small town, sign me up. Like, that sounds like I'm serious. I love the small town feel, but they're never black. Like, oh, it's a black small town. I think that's really amazing.
Black small town.
It is a black small town. I want to visit. I've never even thought of or heard of a Mason, Tennessee, but I am hoping that this gets more people to like go visit. Maybe that's even just putting our money into their economy by, you know, making it a tourist spot, because we do know now that there's so much rich history from our enslaved ancestors. I want to go to Mason now. I just want to go take pictures and just check it out. But I think that's really beautiful. We have to protect and preserve our history. We know it's not going to be done for us. We have to do it. Now is the time, because it'll be erased.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big question. And I know one question comes in from our watcher, Danitas, who says, asking because I don't know, can they be slated as a historical town and then they can't be touched? Is that an option on the table at this point, Anita?
That's an option that people have raised. I don't know much about that process, but it's certainly something people have raised. I don't know if Mason officials are going to take that and run with it or not, but I know that's been floated their way.
I hope they do take it and run with it. Anita, you know what? We're going to do our due diligence on this side, and we would love to bring you back because I feel like there's more to this story. So I would love to bring you back to have further conversations about the progress of Mason, Tennessee. Thank you for your time today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. Folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come back, let's keep the conversations going. Let's talk about Vice President Kamala Harris. You might say, okay, she's the vice president. She's dealing with the policy issues. Well, one fight that we don't know about is that she's fighting for respect within the Biden-Harris administration, and she's still fighting for her image. Stay with us. We'll have the conversation up next, right here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, welcome back. Welcome back. All right, folks, been having some great conversations for that for the first half of the show. All right, but let's jump into some of the other discussions that people are having right now. One of them is regarding Vice President Kamala Harris, who is always fighting. Now, even if you don't agree with her politics, folks, you do have to admit that having a black woman as the vice president of the United States is still shocking, to say the least, right? It's still like, did this really happen? Yes, we know that President Barack Obama, a black man, was in the seat, and that was even shocking. And that's shocking even 14 years later. But to have a black woman in the vice presidency is mind-blowing. Well, the vice president had to deal with and continues to deal with a lot, even as she sits in the seat as the second in command. There's a new book that will be coming out called "This Will Not Pass: Trump, Biden, and the Battle for America's Future." And one of the things that it discusses, it talks about the new administration, first President Trump and then the new Biden-Harris administration. And it revealed, remember that Vogue cover situation? Y'all remember that? Remember when Vogue put Vice President Kamala Harris on the front? She was wearing the black. She had like a black suit jacket. She had some black pants, and she had some Converses. Remember that? Well, she was never happy about that. She was not happy that for their print edition of Vogue magazine, that was the cover. And then there was another cover that she had really wanted to be on the print version that ended up being on the digital edition. And now, Keena, if you can find those two covers, brother, I appreciate it so we can show the people. But one of the big things that it mentioned in this new book, and this book was written by two gentlemen by the name of Jonathan Martin and Alexander Burns. And in their first quote, I want to share this quote with you about what Vice President Harris was dealing with when she saw that Anna Winters, who serves as the editor-in-chief of Vogue magazine, decided to move forward on the picture that she, being Vice President Kamala Harris, did not want to be published as the cover or as the picture to present herself as the vice president. Jonathan Martin and Alexander Burns said that Kamala Harris was wounded. She felt belittled by the magazine, asking aides, would Vogue depict another world leader this way? Would they depict another world leader this way? When the controversy kicked off, you remember the sister Simone Sanders served as the vice president's communication person. She approached Anna Wintour and asked her, well, why did you put this picture out versus the picture of that we wanted? And Anna Wintour's response was that she wanted to pick a picture that made the vice president, quote unquote, more relatable. More relatable. But if that's not the image that she wanted, then why would you choose how she presents herself? I want to bring in my culture crew member, Elijah Miles, Nira Muhammad, both back into this part of the conversation, because I think it's interesting. This book is about to drop. And Nira, I'm going to start with you because, you know, of course, you've done modeling work, you've done work in used pictures, and you understand, like, let me just tell y'all, folks, Nira don't play when it's time to take pictures. And I'm not saying that in a way where to throw shade on you or anything like that, but you are very particular about how you want to be presented to people. And so I think you can understand why the vice president may feel belittled, why she was really hurt that somebody chose a picture that she wasn't cool with to represent her. Talk to us about that.
So for one, I will say I completely understand where Kamala is coming from. I'm going to be honest. The picture that they chose for her, she looks kind of silly. And I'm not saying because of her outfit. I'm saying the facial expression. You know those like blooper pictures, the picture where you're like, okay, that one I look a little goofy, like I might have been kind of caught off guard. That's how the picture comes off a bit to me. On the flip side of that, well, let me just say real quick. That would never happen to Beyonce. Beyonce, when she does work for Vogue, not only does she pick her photographer, Beyonce handpicks every single picture and approves every single picture that is used for her spreads in Vogue. That is very much so known. Why are we giving Beyonce more respect than we're giving the vice president of the United States? I'll just leave that question there. But then I want to also point out the fact that I do understand what Anna Wintour was trying to do. I know on the cover it says, by the people, for the people, the United States of fashion. What Kamala Harris did was change the trajectory of what a woman is supposed to look like, a woman at the top. I'm a woman. Look, I'm going to be real with y'all. Look, I'm a teacher. I got my Chucks on. I am a Chucks girl. So for me, I'm not going to lie, that was technically kind of a buy-in for me with Kamala Harris. I love to be able to see a beautiful Black woman in a business suit, but then she put her Chucks on and that made her so real and it did make her relatable. But again, I think that it could have been done in a more respectful way where Kamala could have at least chosen the picture that she wanted to use. And that's not to say that the picture of her with her Chucks could not have made it inside of Vogue, but to use that as the cover when she should have been looked at and when she wanted to be looked at in a more dignified way. I understand that. And I do think that Anna Wintour should have respected that. And then on the flip side of that, I do still also respect Anna Wintour's because I think that she's a genius in what she does. But again, this is about also allowing the first woman in command to have a little bit more say in how she's represented and how she's put out there to the world.
Well, I want to show the picture so we can remind people. And remember, folks, this was just wasn't that far. That remember this? Take a look. So you got on the
first picture. If you look at it up close, that's one of those smiles where it's like she's kind of caught off guard a little bit. You know what I mean? I understand why she wouldn't have wanted that picture. Personally, Vogue is normally just like high fashion. The covers are so beautifully put together. Personally, that does not look like a Vogue cover to me. That is not.
It looked like you just walked up and it looked like you just walked up on a set, Elijah.
Yeah, that looks like the picture when they're testing,
trying to get the lighting and all that together.
Yep. That's exactly what it looks like.
Madam Vice President, can you smile real quick? Okay, great, no problem.
Yep,
no problem.
And you get that stupid grin.
You get that stupid grin. But the picture that she wanted was the one right there where she's in the baby blue,
beautiful
business suit, right? Which
beautiful.
It's absolutely, and I get it. I'm gonna be honest with you, I would be upset.
I would be too.
I would be upset. And like you said, Nero, as great as Anna Wintour has done, I mean, she's done hundreds of these for top tier folks. But at the same time, the fact that you're the vice president of the United States of America. You mean to tell me, Elijah, that somebody can still make a choice about how you present yourself to the world?
Yeah, it's blatant disrespect. And I think she asked a powerful question of, would you present any other world leader like this? And it's blatant disrespect to not just Vice President Harris, but also Black women in general. That you could be one of the high command of one of the most powerful countries in the world, and we can disregard the way in which you want to be presented. So how Anna Wintour wants to present Vice President Harris is not as important as Vice President Harris wants herself to be presented.
Right. That's a good point.
She has an image, and her image is being seen not just in America, but all across the world as a source of inspiration for Black girls and girls in general everywhere. So it was real critical how she was presented. And I think that, that it was just blatant disrespect for her as the vice president, just for her as a Black woman in general. So it's just wild.
Look, let me just tell you, and that's the fascinating part about the story, Elijah, is the fact that again, it's disrespect But this is the vice president of the United States, Nira. This is not like this is not like this is not a hip hop artist. This is not
that would never happen to Beyonce. It would never happen.
And see,
it would not
culturally,
happen. Beyonce goes to Vogue and picks her photographer as well as the pictures. That is a fact. It would never ever happen.
So
again, I do understand what Anna Wintour was trying to do. She was trying to make her more relatable. It in a way kind of, again, I understand. Let me just say, there was a big thing, a movement that Black women started called Chucks and Pearls, where we all wore pearls and we wore Chuck Taylors, and they even designed them in representation of Kamala Harris. That was a big thing. That was a big thing on Facebook. It was a big thing all over social media. I had my Kamala Harris shirt on with my blazer and my Chucks. It was a big deal. Black women started this based on Kamala Harris. So again, Anna Wintour wasn't far off base when she was trying to with her thinking. She could have just chosen a better picture, but she wasn't off base in the way that she presented Kamala Harris, because that's the way that we as Black women saw Kamala Harris. We saw her as someone just like us. We wanted to look like her. But again, Anna Wintour's messed up because she just chose a bad picture. Right. It's not about what she was trying to do. She was trying to speak to us women because we all looked up to Kamala Harris for being authentic. How often have you ever seen an educated top official with a suit on walking around with Chuck Taylors? You don't see that. When she did that, she revolutionized the fact that you don't have to wear a pair of heels to be seen as a boss woman. You can put your Chucks on with your suit and still be this educated, top-ranking Black woman. That is the direction. I'm just saying.
I get you. No, I totally understand.
And someone who really is into like design covers and book covers, I'm telling you, that's where her thinking was. But I do think on the flip side of that, she should have chosen a more appropriate picture that I'm pretty sure Kamala Harris would have approved. She could have talked about it in the inside of Vogue. It's just that the fact that she put that picture on the cover, that's where she messed up. She was not. I don't think she was being shady in that. I think she genuinely was trying to cater to what was trending, which is the Chuck Taylors. They were trending at that time.
Do you think that if it was Hillary Clinton?
Hillary's not that cool.
No, but we don't know. And let me just say that. We don't know. I'm just saying, the politics aside.
No. I'm talking about fashion.
Hillary could wear Chucks too.
Farajii, but this is a fashion magazine. Let's keep this in perspective. This is a fashion magazine. Hillary never did that shit. She never did it. No person in politics has ever done what Kamala Harris did. She showed that we women can wear whatever we want to wear and still look good, still be at the top. We've never seen an elected official wear Chuck Taylors. Let's be real. It was such a big thing. It was a big buy-in for women.
I get it. No. Trust and believe.
So I'm just saying, I don't think that Anna Wintour was doing this to be like,
no, I'm not saying. I don't think she was being malicious.
I think she was genuinely like, I'm going to do my job. I know it sells magazines. I'm trying to get, this is about fashion, moving fashion forward. But again, she could have chosen a better looking picture, even if she wanted to show the Chucks. I know that's not the only picture.
But here's the thing, though, dear. Here's the thing.
I know that's not the only picture that Kamala took of those Chucks.
It
could have been a better picture that Kamala could have approved.
She made the decision on her own.
She is the editor-in-chief. She has every right to do that. That's her job. She's the editor-in-chief.
Yes, but the woman is also the vice president.
Yes, but she's not the vice president of Vogue. She is not. Anna Wintour has the autonomy to choose. She is the editor-in-chief. Let's be real. And anyone who works in editorial or magazine, they will tell you the same thing. Guess what? In here, I'm the head honcho, not you. You are the head honcho, vice president at the White House, but at this house, Anna Wintour is the president. Period. In my classroom, my classroom, I'm the head.
I get it. You're the boss. I get that. I
choose.
But here's the other thing. And I hear you loud and clear. And I want to, Keenan, if you could show the picture, I want to show you. Show the picture of. Wait a minute. Hold on there. Show the picture of Michelle Obama on the cover of Vogue.
I already know what she looked like. But that's not the point. That was
now the question is,
But look at the caption. Look at the narrative. The narrative is the first lady the world fell in love with. The narrative on Kamala Harris's was about her fashion, her changing fashion for politicians and also for women.
I get all of that. I get all of that.
Again, maybe you do, maybe you guys don't. Again, it's just a different narrative. When you're a writer, you have to think of us from a writer's perspective, as well as from an artist's perspective.
But here's the thing. I get what you're telling me. Trust and believe. I hear you loud and clear.
Don't feel bad. I still got Kamala's back on this one, though. I'm not.
I get it. I get it. I'm in the same camp. I'm just saying that Black women still has to fight. That's all the point I'm making up with having this conversation. And it sucks.
Did Michelle Obama have to fight for that picture to be on the cover?
I don't know if she has to fight, but she probably has to fight in other areas, right? Like she may not fight with Vogue, but she has to fight with being respected.
Beyonce's not fighting with Vogue either. I think again
because I think Beyonce has her own fight as a Black woman.
But I just feel like I do feel like they could have chosen a better picture. But again, I understand what Anna Wintour was trying to accomplish.
I hear what she was trying to accomplish. She was trying to make it relatable. But that's not your. But see, for certain people, is that not her job? For certain people. You wouldn't ask. If you ask Beyonce,
but I got a question.
If you ask Beyonce, why wouldn't you ask the vice president?
Do people go after the National Enquirer or the Globe or Cosmopolitan?
Man, look, our grandparents
or any of the other magazines. Do they go after any of them about the cover that they choose? Again, they don't have 9 times out of 10 they don't have autonomy. The editor-in-chief and the people who work there.
Yeah, I think here's the thing. I think you and I are on the same page. I'm just making a point that the vice president is just, regardless of whether you agree with her politics or not,
do whatever she wants because she's the vice president.
No. But I mean, she said at least be given the choice. That's it.
I agree.
That's it. She should be. If you give Beyonce, who is an entertainer, the choice, why wouldn't you give the vice president a choice?
Because see, Beyonce's a queen, and it's like queen.
Man, all right, Elijah, let me go to you. All right.
It's a joke.
But no, I'm just saying it's about the choice of it.
Now, I agree. I just don't think Anna Wintour was trying to come off.
I get it. I hear you.
What creators do when we get in our creative mode.
Check this out. And let's not act like when you have high profile people coming into your space that you don't adjust a little bit to make sure that high profile person, the last person you want, and you don't want the vice president to look at Vogue and say, I had a worse experience there. I had a terrible experience. You know what I'm saying? All right, so here's the other part about it. The other part about her fight, because we said her image and respect. This is Keenan. Let's show the second quote, because these authors of this book, This Will Not Pass, Trump, Biden, and the Battle for America's Future, they also said this, that some of Harris's advisors believe the president, almost entirely white inner circle, did not show the vice president the respect she deserved. Harris worried that Biden's staff looked down on her. She fixated on real and perceived snubs in ways the West Wing found tedious.
I think she might be doing something.
Now, let me just share this very quickly. The context for this. When she brought it to when her people brought it to Biden's people and said, look, they got this cover. I don't like it. The vice president don't like it. Him and his people pretty much just said, hey, that's a first world problem. That's not even pretty much oh, don't worry about that. We got other stuff to deal with.
Kamala was a tool. She was used so that he could win.
Wait a minute, hold on. I want to get let me get Elijah's take on this one.
But Vice President Harris is being used by everybody. She's being used by Anna Winters or whoever to be used for some narrative that she wants to make to the world. She's being used by President Biden so that he can have a black woman in office so he can appeal to black voters. And it's sad because I think Vice President Harris is very capable and she's not able to control her narrative. She's not able to control how she's represented. She's been undermined, and she's being used by all parties that have the ability and the power to use her. I think now that she's getting to swim in these waters, whether it's with Vogue or these other places, I think she's going to know how to deal with these folks better. But it's sad that she has to learn how to deal with these folks, as you would think they would have enough class and character to deal with her appropriately as the vice president of the United States. But she getting a hard.
But they don't look at her that way, right, Elijah? They look at her like she is a figure. She was needed because of the color of her skin. She's a symbol.
She's a symbol with no substance.
Right.
And again, I'm bringing this up because this is Women's History Month. Because when we have conversations next year and the years to come about women's history, Kamala Harris is certainly going to be a part of those conversations because she made history as Black vice president, right? But we can't teach that history without understanding the full context that she's been fighting. Again, that this is not about her politics. It's just that we're talking about a woman of color who has been fighting within her own administration and to the world. And it's a pretty interesting place that she's in, even as she is holding one of the highest offices in the country.
Right.
Like like Black women, dark-skinned women. I know people say, "Oh, she's not Black." I'm not getting to that foolish kind of foolishness. Look, the fact is, as a Black woman, she is still being seen as lower than, and I think that is interesting. That's the fascinating part about this.
I mean, we don't know her story. We don't know her journey and why she's being put through that. But I don't think that anything happens to us as individuals or as a people by happenstance. I think it's always for a reason.
I agree.
And we just don't. We may not know that reason, but I think she'll come out on top. I think she's going to learn a lot. This is going to give her a lot of grit. It's going to teach her a lot. And maybe, who knows, maybe this is her karma for what she might have done when she was in office to Black people. I don't know. But all I'm going to say is we, at this point now, we got to have her back. Listen, I'm going to keep it real with y'all. Y'all know that. I don't know what that woman did. But now we know we just got to have her back moving forward. It's that simple.
I mean, we can have her back. And the other thing, Elijah, is that I think that it's important that we understand that Black women don't get no breaks, man.
Right.
We don't.
They don't get no breaks. And
Black women don't get no breaks, man.
I can't wait till Vice President Harris is out of office and she's able to write her book and tell her story of what she went through. I think
bro, you're going to wait a long time. You're going to wait a long time, Elijah.
No, she's going to have that ghostwriter. She's going to have that ghostwriter on standby.
Right.
Look.
And that's
you know what I'm saying?
Ghostwriters out here already putting it out.
I'm still waiting for the real Michelle Obama and Barack Obama book. I'm talking about not the one, the inspirational one.
Correct one.
I'm talking about the ones like, man, when we got into their personal stories. Not happening. Let me just share with you a couple of what people are saying. Janelle checked in and said, these are probably the same inner circle folks that didn't think that voting rights should have been a priority for Farajii Muhammad. Go ahead and say it. She's a token.
She is.
She a pawn on the chessboard.
She was needed to help. She was needed to help Biden win. That's what she was there for.
Yeah. Some people are still going against the idea of her being a Black woman. She's not. Kay Thriller says she's not Black American. Indian mother, Jamaican father, and she never talks about her father. So that quote, Black side don't even exist. Her father and mother. Kay Thriller, what are you talking about? Jamaicans are Black people.
I mean, Black.
Kay Thriller, Jamaicans are Black people, man.
I mean, she didn't marry a Black man.
Just because she don't talk about her father don't mean she ain't from her father.
She's still Black.
Obama didn't know his father.
That's right.
Black.
But he's from Africa.
Yeah, and that's why
you only get office if you half Black. You only can be half Black.
You only can be half Black when you acknowledge your father or you acknowledge your Black mother. We can't do that. Check this out. What else we got? Nisa's 1971 said, if she's not Black, why are we having the conversation at all? Come off of it. Right. She's a Black woman. Anyone racially profiling her will say in the description, Black woman,
period. I mean, if we're going off of what the slave master said,
look, we don't have to go. Look.
They go off of what your mother is. I'm just saying.
No, I hear all that. But the fact is, look, and I hope people really understand the seriousness of this conversation because it speaks volumes that Black women have to fight for everything.
Yep.
Black women have to fight for their image.
Everything.
They got to fight for their bodies. Black women got to fight for their thinking. I mean, we're seeing that with Ketanji, Judge Jackson. Black women got to fight for everything. And we can't get away from that. Let's not get off let's not get off on, oh, she's not Black or this or that. The fact is, Black women got to fight for every damn thing.
And if you want to take Black out, let's just say woman. She's still a woman. She's still a woman. Women. We're fighting for everything. I'm not even going to exclude my other women because they're fighting too. Women.
Absolutely.
And they all be intensify because we Black, but women in general are fighting for our bodies, the right to say what we want to do with our bodies. We're still fighting for equal pay. Women in general, we are fighting constantly.
Right. Absolutely. Well, look, we're going to take a quick pause. Speaking of bodies, up next, let's talk about Mary J. Blige. She is very, very serious about what's not going to happen to her body. And she talks about why she doesn't have children at the age of 51. We'll get into that conversation next. Stay with us. It's The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay Black. I love y'all. All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I want to talk about Mary J. Blige. As we talked about in the last segment, a woman finding or having agency of her body. Mary J. Blige, in a recent interview, made the point, candidly explaining why at the age of 51, she doesn't have any children and she doesn't want children. And she put it very bluntly, folks. She was doing an interview and she said about the subject of motherhood. She said that she's not there yet. She's not there yet. And most importantly, that she doesn't want to deal with the hassles of finding a babysitter, and she likes her freedom. She likes her freedom. Now, some people are putting up, are saying that by Mary saying that she's robbing herself of the joys of childhood or being a mother and having children. But it begs me to have this conversation so that we can understand the thinking, but most importantly, to respect the right of a woman to choose how she wants to choose what she does with her body. And I want to bring back my culture crew members, Elijah Miles, who's the founder and chairman of Tindare Family, and Nira Muhammad, who is an author and educator and host of Queen Talks with Nira Muhammad podcast. Mary J. Blige, 51 years old. She's back on the top of the music charts. She's back on top of her game. She's been in the hip hop R&B game for years, ever since I was born. But it's probably just for like 30 years, right? So it's a little less than since. Yeah. But she says she doesn't want to have children. She's not there yet. She did have stepchildren from her previous marriage when she was married to Kendu Isaacs, and he had children, and so she was being a stepmom. She says she has many nieces and nephews, but she just loves her freedom. She doesn't want to be attached to someone on that level. What are your thoughts about that? Let me start with you, Nira. What's your take on that?
I'm jealous that I didn't think about that when I was 24. Because I mean, I hate that society makes women feel like they have to be a mom or that they have to have kids. I don't like it. I was just talking to my little sisters about this, actually, because neither of them have children. One is about to turn 30. The other one is 25. And I was telling them, like, if you don't want children, you do not have to have children. And I'm so sick of people making women feel like our sole purpose in life is to have children. And I know people go back to the Bible and be fruitful and be many. Well, one, I'm not even a Christian, so don't throw your Bible at me. That's one. But no, women should be able to have the right to choose. And I agree. Finding a babysitter is hard. Being a parent is hard. It's not easy. It's not something that I personally take lightly. I love my children. But I think that more women and even men, you got to be honest with yourself. Parenthood is not for everybody. I think we all can attest to there being men and women who were like, you should have never had a child. Like, you just should not have had kids. Like, you don't have a motherhood bone in your body. You should have kept them closed, lady. So I think that her being able to just say authentically, without a shadow of a doubt, that's not what I want. I'm good with where I'm at. I love it. And I love that she's spreading that, because I think more women need to hear other women say that so that they're not feeling bad. Like, for instance, I'm going to stop after this. After my second child, I got my tubes tied. I cannot tell you how many women shamed me for getting my tubes tied. What? You got your tubes tied, girl. Oh my God. You don't want more kids? Hell no. Hell to the no. I don't want more kids. And I think that, especially in the Black community, we don't believe in family planning. We just think, oh, you popped up pregnant and you got 6 kids that you know you did not want or can afford. I'm not living my life like that. I am going to choose what I do with my body. I am going to choose what I do with my time, my money, my energy, my mental health, all of that, because having children plays into all of that, your finances, everything. I'm proud of Mary, and I think that more women need to just be more authentic to themselves. If you do not want to have children, you do not have to have children. This is not back in the day where we need to have 10 and all these kids to help us on the farm. Do your thing. That's all I got to say.
All right. So what's your take on this, Elijah?
My take is I think that women should be able to do what they want to do with their bodies. And I think also that as far as Mary J. Blige, I think kids is just not for everybody. I think it's some people that shouldn't have kids, and I think it's some people that should be more responsible with their bodies, sort of to prevent them from having kids that they didn't plan, like you said, and they didn't want. Because in the Black community, too often, kids are traumatized by having parents that didn't want them, and your mom or your dad, and you can feel it that they didn't want you, and you're a burden to them, and they don't want you around. So that could be extremely traumatic. So I think that those that want to have kids should definitely plan their life to have kids, so that the kids that we produce can grow up in a loving environment where they're accepted and loved by their family, and grow up to be productive members of the Black community. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think to both of your points, and to yours especially, there, that you're right. Like, there has to be, I think that we need to slow down the conversations about motherhood and fatherhood, right, and have more and speed up the conversations around family planning. You know what I mean? And there's an authenticity that comes to that comes with having children or not having children. I already knew that when I was going to get of age, I wanted to have children. But every man is not in that place, right?
Yep.
Every woman is not in that place. But the point that we do seem to, the culture does shame women, young women, to have children.
Yeah.
And look, Elijah, I'm with you 100%, bro. If a woman says she doesn't want children, and she might be dealing with a dude that wants children,
find another woman.
Find another woman. I mean, you're not doing anything. You're not doing anything good in trying to convince a woman, force a woman, compel a woman to think that she's a mother. Because we already seen examples of women who probably shouldn't have had children.
Farajii,
who have
I'm a teacher.
So many.
I can tell you there are so many children that come to class, their behaviors, they are seeking love and attention. I cannot tell you how many kids over the years have told me, I wish you were my mom. I would have never told my teachers that as a kid because I loved my mother. But it's heartbreaking, and it's also beautiful at the same time that, yes, they built that relationship with me, that they feel that closeness to me, but it also breaks my heart that they would ever look and wish that someone other than their mother was their mother.
Yeah.
But this is the reality of what some of our children are going through.
Yeah.
Some of these children don't have love at home. Some of these children don't want to go home. That's a reality. I'm going to end there.
Yeah, I mean, I think... go ahead, Elijah.
Also, what I would add is that, the universe is complicated, and the creator calls us all to do different things. And so some of my greatest teachers, now we're thinking about teachers, some of my greatest teachers didn't have kids. And because they didn't have kids, they were so dedicated to the kids that were so in need of family inside of our school. So it brings to mind wonderful math teacher who rose to be the principal of the school after I left, Mrs. Scott at St. Ignatius Loyola Academy. Shout out to Miss Scott, who loved us all as her kids. But because if she had kids, who knows if she would have been able to be as dedicated and as on it as she was. So people are called to do different things. And I think we have to, the world is not so black and white, that the creator and God calls us to do different things. And you don't know what someone's called to do before you push kids or push different responsibilities on them.
Right. And to take that even further, Elijah and Nira, that when she was asked the question, well, since you don't want to have children biologically, would you consider, adopting? And she talked about this years ago when she was married, that, she don't have time for adopted children because she was already dealing with taking care of her husband's children at that time. But again, that's still, even if adopting, it doesn't matter how they get here, they're here.
First of all, I feel like I think the culture needs to shift that we stop asking women, period. It's none of your business. Unless a woman offers up that information to you, stop asking a woman if she's pregnant. Stop asking a woman when she's going to have kids. Unless you're actually dating that woman and you're trying to get to know her in terms of whether or not she's going to be the woman that's equally yoked for you.
Yeah.
That's none of your business. I tell people, what goes on with my reproductive system is not your business unless that's information that I want to give. Stop asking me. I'm tired of people asking me if I'm pregnant. Like, no, I got this pouch because of the 2 I already got. Leave me alone. And I love French fries. Leave me be. Okay. This is Nyana and French fries. All right, leave me alone. But stop asking. It's offensive. There are some women that have been trying for decades to have children and can't. So the moment that you ask her, you made her feel unworthy because she's already been trying. Stop it. Some women cannot have children. Some women have suffered from endometriosis, had to get especially in the Black community. A lot of us have had to get hysterectomies from fibroid tumors. Stop asking us if we're going to have kids. Maybe she can't. Maybe that was a lifelong dream of hers that she can't fulfill. For whatever reason, I think we just got to stop asking. It's not, unless that's someone that you're dating and you're trying to get to know them to see whether or not that's someone that you want to be your wife or your husband, stop asking. Unless they tell you, it's none of your business.
I agree.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. And I think that is the cultural part about that, because it's not just about one person. We seem to see that a lot, especially within the Black community, where there's this expectation that Black women need to be mothers. There's this expectation that Black women need to reproduce, right? There's this expectation that if you aren't a mother, if you don't use your reproductive system, there's something is wrong with you. There's that view. And I think we need to push back on that. You know what I mean? I think we need to push back, because being a mother doesn't necessarily mean, cultivating and grooming and raising your own children. I mean, that's to your point, Elijah, about your teacher. So, and to your point, Nira. So it's like, I think that's important that we do have these conversations. Like, culturally, there has to be some changes. Plus, this is 2022. Everybody is not in this space. This ain't 1922. This damn show ain't 2002. Like, we are all in different places. And it's interesting because I was reading a couple of articles, and they said that this generation right now, so it would be like, your little sister age there, and this generation is the generation that is reproducing less than any other generation of our time.
And they're also living in a time where inflation is high. Yeah. Raising a child is so much more expensive now than when I was growing up in the 90s. In the 90s, you gave us some marbles and some jacks, and we were like, boom, I got a game. Now, I mean, even buying a board game can cost up to like $30. I mean, just thinking about like little stuff, you know what I mean? Like, it is very, very expensive having children. And hell, most of us are still trying to pay off our student loans or figure out how we're going to do that. Like, we can't even afford to take care of ourselves, right? Let alone children. Like, who's gonna feed these kids?
Well, and I think that goes back to family planning, right, Elijah? Like if you know, and this is the part of the conversation that we don't want to have, which is personal responsibility.
That's right.
That when you are intimate with someone, you have to make the intentional choice about you being intimate with that person, how you're going to be intimate with that person, right? And if a child comes out of those moments, what's going to happen? And I think that's the hard part about having these conversations, because we just seem to believe, and I don't know why we do this, that in our 20s, Elijah and Nira, that we, like, babies are made differently than what we were taught and when we were 15, right? So we, like, you know what I'm saying? We making these very serious choices. Like, we lay down with somebody, and I'm not trying to come off like real preachy, but I'm just saying, like, let's be intentional about who we lay down with, right? And I'm saying for men and for women. I ain't just talking about women. I'm talking about men. Let's be intentional and say, okay, if the situation don't work out as I thought it would work out, and this woman winds up pregnant, am I in a position to take care of this child emotionally, financially? Do I want to have a child at this point? I mean, you got to ask, and I think that on both sides, you got to ask questions before you even lay down. Just be like, look,
that's right.
Where do you stand?
I'm gonna just throw this out there to the fellas. It's so much easier for y'all to get them things snipped. The vasectomy is easy. You don't even have to like stay at the doctor's. It's done, and it's an outpatient procedure. And guess what? It's easy for you to get it reversed when you are ready to have kids. It's much easier for men. It's much easier for men to get that reversal than it is for women. brothers, if you know you don't want to have kids and you out here shooting up the club, get your stuff snipped before you go shoot up the club. If you don't want kids, stop. Right. You got to be just as responsible for yourself as women are. And
hey, Elijah, these brothers shooting up the clubs and then surprised when they got survivors.
Yeah. Hey, yo, that's one right there.
Yo, I mean, you'd be like, how did that happen? You'd be like, what do you don't know? You don't know science and biology?
Like you don't want to busting off.
You want to do that, and then you're mad that a child comes out of that situation, and then it goes into that other scenario you pointed out, Elijah. Now you don't want the child, right? Mm-hmm. So here's a man. Here we are as men. We're gonna put that demand on a woman's body to go through that abortion, proceeding, and it's not fair, bro.
Yeah,
like it's not fair.
Yeah, we gotta get some discipline and think before we go into these situations. And it's so important because over 70% of our homes are ran by single mothers right now. Black homes are ran by single mothers, and it's really destructive to the Black community in general. Because a lot of these boys that grow up without fathers, that grow up without like a solid family structure that loves them, that wanted them, a lot of these boys end up on the street saying, yeah, I'm going to rob you for your wallet. Yeah, I'm going to do whatever to get money from you because I'm not loved by this world. It's me versus the world. And so they become anti-social. They become against society, getting it by any means. And we produce those situations just by not being disciplined in our young years. So
not and being disciplined and not thinking ahead. We think about the momentary pleasure, but we don't think ahead. And I know this is a much different conversation. We're going to have to stop, but then here's the other thing. I guess we're going to have to really talk about this family planning because I know dudes who would say the wildest things to women. I want you to have my baby. But wait a minute, hold up, man. Are you going to be there every step of the way? Are you ready to take on that responsibility? Or is this some type of momentary moment of, I like you today and I may not like you tomorrow? And that's why our community is suffering because we go through those situationships so much that at a certain point, you're going to have children, you're producing children that's going to end up hating you because there was no love in the interaction. There was love. I mean, there was lust. There was some attraction and chemistry, but it wasn't love in the interaction. So we definitely have to have a conversation about that. Look, we got to take a quick pause. When we come back, let's go to some trending topics, trends, posts, and doing the most. Stay with us. It's The Culture right here on Black Star Network.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
All right, folks, time for your favorite segment. And we got just a couple of things as we wrap up today's show. A couple of things to bring to your attention very quickly. One is, did you know that in 2020, the year of the great pandemic, there were less smokers in the country than in any other point? Yep, folks, according to the CDC, they say that smoking has reached an all-time low during the pandemic. The first year saw more Americans drinking heavily or using illicit drugs, but apparently not smoking. I don't know how that happened. U.S. cigarette smoking dropped to a new all-time low, which with 1 in 8 adults saying they were current smokers, according to a survey data released by the CDC. And adult e-cigarettes use also dropped, the CDC reported, The CDC credited public health official campaigns and policies for the decline, but outside experts said tobacco company price hikes and pandemic lifestyle changes likely played a role. What do you think? That's interesting. That's interesting.
I think
people are drinking more but smoking less.
I agree. I don't think people smoke that much anymore. You don't really see a lot of people who smoke cigarettes anymore, except for the people that were like smoking them back forever. But I know for me, during the pandemic, I drank way more wine than I care to share. I was buying wine bottles like it was going out of style. And I was like, where did this come from? Like, I'm not even a big drinker. I wasn't doing hard liquor, but I definitely will attest to, like, with everything shutting down, like my sisters and I like going out and like getting cases of wine because we're like, we got to be home, get the cases of wine. Like we were like hoarding all of this stuff. There's like people that were hoarding toilet paper. And then there was those of us that were like hoarding wine. I was more on the wine side.
I hear you. The CDC report, Elijah, that based on a survey of more than 31,000 U.S. adults, they found that 19% of Americans used at least one tobacco product in 2020, and that was down from about 21% in 2019. Here's what I think will be happening. It would be interesting to see the other side if we saw a higher number of tobacco ads and promotions in 2021 to keep the tobacco industry going. Elijah, what's your take on it?
Because cigarettes are out of style, man. It's not cool to smoke fugs in Baltimore.
Not cool at all. Like you don't want to date a dude to smoke. You don't want to date a dude to smoke. You're like, ew.
It's not cool to smoke cigarettes. You know, they used to have the Newport commercials where they have young people and but cigarettes out of style, man. So I can see how it's going down because you get clowned for smoking fugs.
Let me get a loose one. You be like, what? A loose one?
Hey, look, dear, real quick, Janae checked in and said, look, they say all teachers drink.
I'm going to just say, on Fridays, you know where you will find us at. Happy hour.
All right, let me go to the next topic very quick. Let me go one more topic. All right, also, this is the craziest thing very quickly. A KKK leader is planning to run for office, even though in Georgia, he says that he is reformed. Now take a listen to this guy. Yo, only in America, son. If anybody votes for this joker, I'm telling you. Chester Doles. He held the title of Grand Caliph of the Invisible Empire, Knights of the Ku Klux Klan, and now he wants to be a Lumpkin County commissioner. Most of his leadership experience is in what he's called white activism. And he was a member of the Nazi political organization, National Alliance, and Hammerskins, which is a racist skinhead group. And he's also served time for beating up a black man. And he wants your vote.
You can have a record and run for office?
Apparently, you can have a record in Georgia and still run. However, check this out. He says that he is reformed and repentant for his past and transracial transgressions with the help of another Republican and black preacher by the name of Derek Grayson.
Yeah, that's...
I'm gonna let you take this one.
I don't even know if I can... he's got the coons backing him too. And that's the issue. And he reframed himself. The article goes on, he reframed himself as a patriot. But it's easy to do that in America. Because if you go into a Georgia town and you see a bunch of American flags and a bunch of American, I don't know, like floor mats that you walk on and all that, you know, you don't want to be there after dark. So you could easily be like, yeah, I'm a white activist. But you know, this clown.
Elijah, I think it's fascinating that, like you say, you can reinvent yourself. And I mean, you literally can be a racist and say, no, I'm good. I'm better now. After talking to one black man of the same party.
I got a white friend. I got a black friend.
I got a black friend. And this is, I mean, like, and then you have a record. Like the people know you are part of the KKK and you beat up a black man.
Right.
So you gotta get a background check to work at Walmart, but not to run for office?
You got a background check. The background check is that was the background check. You know exactly.
There are some things that you just like. That once it comes up that you have a background, you're automatically like disqualified from certain jobs. So I'm saying once the background came up, was that like a notch to be like, ooh, he beat up a black man, put him on the back?
No, that's not. Look, from North Georgia to Donald Trump's office.
Yeah,
you could do a whole lot of stuff and still get elected. That's she got the most serious face, but that's where we are in this country.
Yeah,
that's where we are in this country. I think it's absolutely insane.
I think it's 90% white where he's going for. If I read it correctly, I think it's 90% white the place that he's going for.
Oh yeah, and he's looking to be in a leadership role as the county commissioner.
So I wouldn't be surprised he made it happen. I wouldn't be surprised if he made it happen. I think you're going.
That's giving me Mason, Tennessee vibes, but the opposite way.
Yeah, real tough.
Yeah, there it is, right there. All right, folks, that is going to be it for Trends Post and Doing the Most. Nir Muhammad, Elijah Miles, thank you both for joining me for these just very insightful conversations.
Right. Go easy on them next time, Nira.
So I appreciate y'all both. Thank you so much. Nira always going to go rumble with me, man. That's all good. It's all good. All right,
that's how we got 2 kids, Farajii. Stop. We got 2 kids now.
I appreciate you, dear. Thank you so much for checking in. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. But, of course, we continue to need your support here at Black Star Network. Make sure you log on to blackstarnetwork.com to get to see all of the fantastic shows that we have running on the network. Second, to show your support. We need your support, financial support. If you can't support us financially, make sure you share all of our videos of the shows, the replays, everything. It all matters. It's all important. It all makes sense. So make sure that you support Black Star Network, because when you support Black Star, you are absolutely supporting Black-owned media. Stay tuned. Up next at 6 o'clock is my big brother, Roland Martin Unfiltered, coming at you. As always, folks, I'm thankful to all of our culture crew members, and especially our very special guest, Anita Wahadwi, for joining us. And, of course, we're going to keep our eyes on this situation in Mason. And tomorrow, I can tell you, we're going to have a much deeper conversation about the U.S. declaring Russia has committed war crimes. So we'll be checking in with Dr. Gerald Horn from the University of Houston to give us some insight as to what we can expect next with this major development in this whole scenario. So we'll have that conversation tomorrow and a whole lot more. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong. Stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we'll talk tomorrow for another exciting edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Peace.